Hi, my name is Ethan Augustin Coley, and the title of my story is Time is the Enemy. Robert Ratcliffe was overflowing with excitement. After months of research and hard work, he was finally going to become the first archaeologist ever to uncover the sacred artifact. After nearly an hour of navigating the temple, the archaeologist had finally arrived at a large cave-like room covered in countless hieroglyphs. Light shone through a hole in the ceiling and illuminated a crude piece of rock jutting out from the center of the room. The artifact sat on top of the rock, glinting in the sunlight. It was shaped like a small sundial and made of pure gold. And according to legend, it possessed mysterious powers over time itself and could even manipulate it in mysterious ways. Robert stared in awe at the relic. He was just about to step forward and seize the artifact when he heard a sound of pounding feet echoing from the hallway behind him. A 12-year-old boy suddenly burst into the room, hot and sweaty from running. "Wait! Stop! Don't move!" Robert stared at the boy in disbelief. "Harold?" Harold was a big fan of Robert and his work. He had persistently pestered Robert several times to take him along on his quest. When Robert had finally gotten rid of the boy, he thought he had seen the end of him. He never suspected that Harold would actually follow him into the temple. His bewilderment was quickly replaced by anger. He was not going to let this boy ruin his moment of triumph. He turned around and dashed towards the artifact, his hands reaching out to grab it. But just as he was within reach, Harold shoved him aside and he toppled to the ground. "What do you think you're doing?" screamed Robert in fury. Harold didn't reply. His eyes were fixed on the ground, his face blanched with fear. Robert watched in horror. Robert realized that Harold was surrounded by a wide red circle painted on the ground in front of the artifact. He then glanced at Harold's feet and saw that he had stepped on a tripwire. Suddenly, he realized why Harold had told him to stop. "It's a trap," he whispered. All of a sudden, Harold collapsed to the ground and began to convulse. Robert watched in horror as Harold's body began to rapidly grow older. His chest became broader and his arms grew thicker. In a matter of seconds, Harold has grown into a full-grown adult. But it didn't stop there. Soon, his skin started to wrinkle and he began to grow a long, gray beard. By now, Robert realized that what he was witnessing before him was nothing that his years of research and studies could have prepared him for. A curse. He tried desperately to help Harold before it was too late. Unfortunately, anything that entered the red circle quickly grew so old it withered into dust. He started to panic. By then, Harold's white beard had stretched all the way to his knees, his breath coming in wheezing gasps. His eyes were sunken deep into his skull, and his skin was extremely shriveled. Finally, Robert gave up and cried in despair. "None of this would have happened if I just listened to the boy. Now he's going to die, and it's all my fault." However, as he grieved, he noticed a set of hieroglyphs on the wall of the room that appeared to be larger and more deeply etched than the rest. He stared in confusion. He could have sworn it wasn't there before. He deciphered the symbols, hoping for a clue. It read, "Time is the enemy." He scrunched his eyebrows in confusion. What could it mean? Suddenly it hit him. The artifact was time. In order to destroy Harold's curse, he had to destroy the artifact. At first he hesitated. All he had to do was grab the relic and run away, and none of his efforts would be wasted. He could become rich and famous. But then he looked at Harold's body withering away before him, and he felt ashamed for even considering such a thought. He clenched his hand around the artifact, and with a heavy heart, he flung it to the wall of the room, and it shattered on impact. Once the artifact was destroyed, Harold immediately began to transform back into a boy again. And from then on, Robert never forgot that when it comes to doing the right thing, time is always the enemy. Thank you.